Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Caleb Johnson. I am 34 years old, and the last thing my wife ever expected me to say in therapy was, "Everyone's right." She said, "Everyone says she's too good for me." And I looked at the therapist, then back at her, and said it plainly. The session ended right there. Let me back up. We have been married for 6 years. 6 years of me trying to be enough for a woman who had a quiet, persistent way of letting me know I never would be. Her name is Maya Carter. She came from money. Old, polished, gleaming money. Her father, Reginald, owned a consulting firm and had a way of asking questions that were really judgments. Her mother, Elaine, did charity events and never missed a chance to smooth a tablecloth that was already flat. I worked in logistics management. I brought in around $60,000 a year. Not rich, but stable. I covered the bills, saved what I could, and lived comfortably without wanting a parade for it. For Maya, it was a problem she never called a problem. The criticisms came in small, neat packages. She would say my job was fine, then quickly talk about her friends' husbands who were in finance or technology, as if aspiration had a dress code and mine did not pass inspection. She joked that I liked staying in on weekends rather than going out to the expensive bar scene downtown, as if preferring a quiet night at home made me boring rather than content. She would run her hand along the hood of my 10-year-old truck and mention how her friend's husband had just leased a new sport utility vehicle with every bell and whistle, as if reliability were something to be embarrassed about. At first, I brushed it off. Every marriage has friction, I told myself. Every partnership requires compromise. But it got worse. At her company's holiday party last December, she introduced me to her colleagues like an apology. "This is my husband," she said. "He does logistics stuff." The way she said it, with a faint smile and eyes that flicked past me, stung more than if she had said nothing at all. One of her colleagues asked what I did, and before I could answer, Maya jumped in with, "It is complicated." It was not complicated. I managed supply chains for a mid-sized company. It was not glamorous, but it mattered. It kept things moving. It kept people paid. I corrected her gently. She laughed as if I were being overly sensitive. That became the pattern. Every social event, every dinner with her family, every gathering of her friends, there was always a moment where I became a punchline told softly enough to seem harmless. Her father would ask about my career trajectory over Sunday dinners with a tone that made it clear I was failing a test I had not agreed to take. Her mother would smile with sympathy and talk about how different our backgrounds are, as if different were a flaw that needed managing. Maya would sit there, nodding along, sometimes piling on, another small cut in a growing list of them. 3 months ago, it escalated. We were at a backyard barbecue at her friend's place, the kind of home with a pool that glistened like an advertisement. I was talking to a guy about football when Maya walked over with two of her friends. One of them said, loud enough for the group to hear, "You are so patient with him." Maya laughed and said, "Someone has to be." I did not react then. I learned not to give her audience the show they came for. That night in the car, I asked her what that was about. She acted confused. She said I was reading too much into a joke. When I pressed, she got defensive. Maybe if you were more ambitious, people would not see you as a project. A project. That was what I was to her. Something to fix into something worth showing off. 2 weeks later, she suggested couples counseling. She framed it like a favor. "I think it would help you understand how your attitude affects our marriage. Not our issues. My attitude." But I agreed. Maybe a neutral third party would help her see what she was doing. In the first session, the therapist, a black woman named Dr. Patrice Holloway with steady eyes and a careful voice, asked what brought us in. Maya talked for 20 minutes. I sat and listened to her describe me as emotionally unavailable, unwilling to support her social life, and resistant to growth. When Dr. Holloway turned to me, I kept it simple. "I think my wife views me as beneath her, and I am tired of trying to prove otherwise." Maya scoffed. "That is not fair." The therapist asked her to elaborate on why she felt unsupported. Maya listed all the things. I did not network enough, care enough about advancing my career, or put in effort with her friends. Then she said, "Everyone keeps telling me I could do better, and I keep defending him, but maybe they are right." The room went quiet. The words just sat there, like something sharp dropped onto a glass table. The therapist shifted in her chair. Maya realized what she had said and tried to soften it. I did not think that. Other people say it. I cut in. Everyone says you are too good for me. She hesitated. Some people have mentioned. So everyone is right, I said. Her face went pale. That was when I stood. Dr. Holloway leaned forward to de-escalate. Let's take a moment. We are done here, I said, and walked out. The therapist called after me to schedule another session. I did not answer. I drove home with the windows cracked and my mind quiet in a way it had not been in years. I got home and looked around. The house, the mortgage and title, were mine, purchased 2 years before I met Maya. The furniture? Half of it came from my old place. The savings account? Mostly my contributions. Her salary often went to boutique gym memberships, brunches, and weekend trips. I called Devin, a friend from college who practices family law. He picked up on the second ring. I asked for a consultation. We set a time for the next afternoon. I hung up, walked to the garage, and pulled out my toolbox. It took me an hour to change the locks on the front and back doors. I labeled a new set of keys for myself and left the old ones on the kitchen counter. I packed her essentials into bins, clothes, toiletries, laptop, chargers, neatly stacked them in the garage, and wrote a note on notebook paper. Be too good for someone else. I taped the note outside the front door at eye level. It felt like putting a period at the end of a sentence I had been avoiding. By 7, I had ordered a burger through DoorDash and opened a beer. I waited. She would come home expecting me to grovel. That night, she would be wrong. Around 8:30, I heard her car in the driveway. Footsteps, then silence. She tried her key once, twice, 3 times. The knocking started soft, then firm. Hello, are you in there? My key is not working. I took a sip and waited. Seriously? Open the door, she said, her voice carrying that crisp edge she used when she was pretending she was not angry. I know you were upset about earlier, but this is ridiculous. Let me in so we can talk. I opened the door. She stood there with her purse and phone, her eyes going straight to the note. She ripped it off, read it, and looked at me. What is this supposed to mean? I pointed toward the garage. Your essentials are there. You can arrange to pick up the rest later this week. She stared at me like she had misheard my language. You were joking. Not even a little. You cannot lock me out of my own house. My house, I said evenly. It was bought before we met. The title is in my name. You can check county records. Color rose in her face. You are doing this because of what I said in therapy. I was venting. People vent. You said everyone thinks you are too good for me. I agreed. Now you're free to find someone who meets your standards. Her voice softened. I know I've been hard on you lately. Work has been stressful. I took it out on you. We can fix this. We can go back to therapy. There is nothing to fix, I said. You made your feelings clear. I did not mean it like that. Yes, you did. I kept my tone even. You have spent years, criticizing everything I do and comparing me to other people. Today you finally said it out loud. Now we are done pretending. Anger flashed in her eyes. So that is it. You're just giving up? What kind of man does that? The kind of man who is tired of being treated like he is not good enough. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it, stepped closer. You do not get to make this decision alone. We are married. I can and I did. You should find somewhere to stay tonight. I'm not going to my parents'. Then a hotel or a friend's couch. But you are not staying here. The phone kept buzzing. She finally glanced down. It is the therapist. You should answer. She put the call on speaker and held out the phone. I could not hear Dr. Holloway's side, but I could hear Maya. He locked me out? Yes. Can you talk to him? She handed me the phone. Dr. Holloway sounded calm and concerned. I want to make sure everyone is all right. Your wife says you have changed the locks. That is correct. I understand today's session was difficult, but this seems extreme. Would you be willing to come back in so we can work through this? There is nothing to work through. The marriage is over. You can keep the session fee and consider it payment for clarity. I really think of you both. I ended the call and handed the phone back. Maya stared at me like I had been replaced by a stranger. Who are you right now? The same person I have always been. You just did not pay attention. My phone lit up with a call from her father. I declined, and when he called again, I turned the phone off. She stood there waiting for me to bend the way I used to. Why did not move? She crumpled the note and threw it at my feet. You are going to regret this. Maybe, I said, but I doubt it. She left. The taillights disappeared down the street. I closed the door, locked it, sat back on the couch, finished my beer, and put on a baseball game. In the morning, I turned my phone on. 23 missed calls, 15 voicemails, 38 texts. Her father, mother, brother, and several of her friends all said the same thing in different words. How could you? Fix it. Call us. I deleted every message without responding and called Devin. So, he said, are we doing this? We're doing this. We met at his office that afternoon. He walked me through the process. Assets, property, accounts. The house was mine, free and clear. We had a joint savings account with $12,000. No children. No spousal support requested or warranted. This should be straightforward, he said. Might take a few months to finalize. He asked me what happened. I gave him the shorter version. Small cuts, a long pattern, and then the sentence in therapy that made everything clear. You changed the locks that night? He asked, half amused. Yes. Cold, he said, chuckling despite himself. But I understand. She wants better, I said. I am helping her find it. He told me not to engage with her directly anymore. If she showed up, do not answer. If she called, do not pick up. Keep records. I stopped at Home Depot on the way home and installed a simple camera at the front door. 20 minutes, synced to my phone. That evening, I sat on the back porch with a cold soda, looking over the fence that needed new stain and the yard that needed mowing. It felt good to see work I wanted to do for me, not for approval. I opened a notes app and started a list. Stain the fence, clean the garage, replace the ceiling fan, red out the laundry room tile, fix the squeak in the back door. An unknown number texted, probably one of Maya's friends. I blocked it and went back to the list. The next morning, she showed up at 6 o'clock and pounded on the door. I watched on the camera, still in bed, and did not get up. She shouted for 10 minutes. She left. In the afternoon, her mother called from another number. I answered without thinking. You need to stop this nonsense and let her come home, Elaine said. No greeting, just the command. With respect, I said, the marriage is over. Over because of one comment? You are being incredibly immature. It was not one comment. It was 6 years of comments. The one in therapy was just honest. Reginald wants to speak to you, she said, and handed the phone to him. His voice came through like a gavel. Listen carefully. You're going to unlock that door, apologize to my daughter, and fix this tantrum. No. Excuse me. No. My attorney will be in touch. You have no idea what you're doing, he said. I will make your life very difficult. Feel free to try, I said, and hung up. I blocked their numbers. That evening, Maya came back with 2 friends. I opened the main door and kept the screen latched. One friend knocked while Maya stood behind her with her arms folded. We are here to pick up more of her things, the friend said. Can we come in? No. The essentials are in the garage. If there is something missing, send a list. I will add it. This is insane, Maya said. You cannot keep me out of my house. We have been over this, I said. It is not your house. The other friend tried to smooth things over. She is willing to talk and work it out. There is nothing to work out. Maya's voice wavered. Please, just the 2 of us. We did talk, I said. In therapy. She started crying, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Her friends wrapped themselves around her like a shield and glared at me as if they had discovered the villain at last. I closed the door. The social media post began that night. Vague statements about betrayal, discovering people's true colors, and choosing oneself. Her friends flooded the comments with hearts and declarations that she deserved better. I did not respond. The people who mattered already knew. 2 of those people reached out directly. One was Jalen, who I played basketball with on Thursdays. About time, he texted. Everyone saw how she talked to you. The other was Camille, a coworker of Maya's who had been at that holiday party. She wrote, I do not usually get involved, but I want you to know we noticed how she treated you. It was not right. On the 4th day, Maya found me at a diner I go to for lunch. She sat without asking. We need to talk, she said. No, we do not, I said, and kept eating my sandwich. 5 minutes. I looked at her. The confidence was gone, replaced with something hollow. I know I messed up, she said. I took you for granted. I said things I should not have. But 6 years, does that not count for something? It did, I said. Past tense. I can change. I will change. I will prove it. You should not have to prove basic respect, I said. That should have been there from the start. Everyone makes mistakes. This was not a mistake, I said. It was a pattern. She reached for my hand. I pulled mine away. I love you, she said. No, I said. You love the idea of fixing me into something you could present. You did not love me as I am. She did not answer. I finished my sandwich, left cash for the check, and stood. Lose my number, I said. Let the lawyers handle the rest. When I got home that evening, an unfamiliar car sat in my driveway. Maya was in the passenger seat, and her father stepped out as I parked on the street. He met me halfway, using his height like leverage. We need to discuss the house, he said. There is nothing to discuss, I replied. My daughter has rights. Not to the house, I said. I bought it before the marriage. The title is solely in my name. We live in a state where that matters. She has rights to half the joint savings. That is it. He smiled without warmth. I have lawyers who would disagree. Then have them call mine, I said, holding up Devin's contact information. His smile fell. You are making a mistake. Your daughter made the mistake, I said, by treating me like I was beneath her. If you think you are walking away with everything, you are delusional. I'm walking away with what is mine. She keeps what is hers. Simple math. He stepped closer. I can make things difficult for you professionally. How? Call my boss and tell him I am divorcing your daughter. He stared. I told him to leave. He did. I called Devin. They came to the house, I said. Good, he replied. Keep records. If they keep showing up, we can talk about a restraining order. Most people back off once they realize they cannot bully you. A week passed. The direct contact slowed, but the online narration expanded. Posts about narcissists and emotional abuse. Comments praising her resilience. Then a mutual friend, named Jordan, commented under one of her posts, "Tell the whole story." She deleted it within minutes, but people had seen it. Questions started appearing. What actually happened? Is there more to this? She stopped posting after that. I ran into Jordan at the gym. He nodded at me between treadmill strides. You did not have to comment, I said. Somebody had to, he replied. She has been playing the victim. People remember your birthday dinner last year. She spent the whole night texting through it, then said it was a work crisis. It had not been a crisis. It had been a girl's trip to Miami that she wanted to coordinate down to the minute. That afternoon, Camille texted me. Coffee? There is something you should know. We met at a Starbucks near her office. She looked uncomfortable. She has been talking at work, she said. She said you were controlling, that you isolated her from friends, that you have anger issues. But the stories do not line up. She told one person you cheated, told another you were financially abusive. Her boss pulled her aside because she cried in a meeting about a quarterly report. I'm not surprised. I thought you should know in case she escalates. That evening, Dr. Holloway called me again. Maya came in for an individual session. She said carefully. She said she wants to try to salvage things. She feels she is ready to do the work. Then I hope she does that with the next person, I said. Sometimes people need a wake-up call to recognize their patterns, Dr. Holloway said. I'm not obligated to stay and see if it takes, I replied. You seem very certain. I am, I said. 6 years of being told you are not enough will teach you something. She offered me one more closing session. I declined and blocked the number. That weekend, I did the work I had set aside for too long. I stained the fence Saturday morning until the grain drank in the color. In the afternoon, I mowed the lawn in clean, straight lines. Sunday, I reorganized the garage, threw out old boxes and label bins. While I worked, my neighbor, an older man named Carl who lived 3 houses down, walked up the driveway. Heard you're going through a divorce, he said without judgment. I nodded. We are done. She came by asking if I had seen you with anyone else, he said. She's going door to door. It does not look good. I stopped what I was doing. She is canvassing the neighborhood. For houses that I know of, he said. People told her to leave it alone. Thanks for the heads up. He glanced at the boxes. You need a hand? We finished the organizing together, no questions asked. When we were done, he shook my hand and went home. That night, a text came from an unknown number. You will regret this when you realize what you lost. I deleted it. Monday morning, my boss called me in his office. I thought it was about our quarterly logistics review. He closed the door and sat across from me. I got a strange call this morning, he said. A woman, claiming to be your wife, said you were having performance issues and might need time off. My stomach dropped and settled. That did not happen. I know, he said. Your file is solid. No performance issues. Thank you for telling me, I said. I called Devin. She contacted my employer, I said. Document everything, he said. Date, time, what was said. We will send a cease and desist. If she does it again, we will file for a restraining order. 2 days later, her attorney reached out to Devin. The email was professional. They wanted to discuss asset division. We met at Devin's office the following week. Maya did not come. Her attorney, a composed woman in her 40s, came prepared to negotiate. She argued that Maya had contributed in non-financial ways that deserve compensation. Devin countered with records, spending versus contribution, timelines, the deed to the house. My client is willing to accept a 50-50 split of the joint savings and forego any claim to the house, she said finally, provided the divorce is finalized quickly. That works, Devin said. We hammered out the details. 60 days to finalize. No alimony, clean break. As we stood to leave, her attorney looked at me. Off the record, she said. What did she do to make you walk away this decisively? People do not usually let go this fast. She did not value me, I said. And I got tired of trying to convince her she should. I left the meeting feeling lighter than I had felt in years. That evening, I went out for a drink with friends for the first time in months. We sat at the bar, talking about sports and work and nothing that hurt. To knowing when to walk away, Tyrone said, lifting his glass. We drank to that. I smiled without effort. 3 weeks into the process, Maya made one final attempt. She walked into the diner again during lunch, wearing a sweatshirt and no makeup, looking deliberately unadorned. I know you do not want to talk to me, she said. You are right, I replied, setting my fork down. Please, hear me out. I waited. I have been thinking about what you said, she began. I did take you for granted. I criticized you constantly. I was wrong. Okay, I said. Can we try again? Start over. No. Her face crumpled. Why not? I am admitting I was wrong. I am willing to change. Because I do not want to, I said. It is that simple. We were good together once, she said. We can get back there. We were never good together, I said. I was busy trying to make you happy. I did not notice how unhappy I was. What about the time we invested? She asked. 6 years. That has to mean something. It means I spent 6 years learning what I do not want, I said. Lesson learned. I cannot believe you are being this cold, she said. I'm not being cold. I'm being clear, I said. You wanted someone better. Now you are free to find that person. She had nothing left to say. I stood, left cash on the table, and walked out. 2 days later, her attorney called Devin. Maya was ready to sign. No more delays. No more negotiations. For weeks after that, I sat in a conference room and signed final papers. Maya had signed remotely. Devin slid the last document across the table. That is it, he said. You are officially divorced. I signed, dated it, and pushed the folder back to him. How do you feel? He asked. Like I should have done this a long time ago, I said. He nodded. Most people say that. I drove home, stopped for a soda and a bag of chips, and sat in the car for a moment. 6 years done. No regret about walking away. Jordan texted. Heard it is official. Drinks tonight? I said yes, and pulled onto the road. At home, everything was where I wanted it. No tension, no commentary, no tests I could never pass. I sat on the back porch and looked over the yard. The fence looked clean and rich with new color. The grass was trimmed. The quiet felt like mine at last. 2 months later, I ran into Dr. Holloway at Target. She was ahead of me in line with a basket of household items. She did a double take, then smiled. Hello, she said. Hey, I replied. We exchanged small talk. As the cashier finished with her, she hesitated. Can I ask you something? Sure. That day in my office, she said, when your wife said what she said, you did not seem surprised. You seemed relieved. I said. You were waiting for her to say it out loud, she said. I thought about it. Yes, I said. I spent years wondering if I was imagining it, if I was being too sensitive. When she finally said it, everything made sense. I've been doing this for 15 years, she said. That was one of the fastest decisions I've seen. Sometimes the decision is already made, I said. You were just waiting for the right moment to act on it. Are you doing all right now? She asked. Better than all right, I said. Best I've been in a long time. She smiled, warm and genuine. Good. I drove home with the windows down, radio on a station I liked because there was no one to roll their eyes at it. The neighbor, Carl, was watering his lawn. He waved. I waved back. Inside, I put away groceries. The house felt different now, lighter. I had bought a chair I wanted for years that Maya said did not match anything. I upgraded the sound system. Little changes that made the place mine. A coworker texted to ask about lunch the next day. I said yes. Then a message came from my friend Tyrone about the fantasy football draft next week. I joined. That evening, I sat on the porch with a beer and let the last of the daylight slide behind the fence. My phone rang from an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it, then answered. "This is Laura," a woman said. "We met at your ex-wife's office party 2 years ago. I work in accounting." I remembered her, quiet, kind. She said she had heard about the divorce and apologized for how things unfolded. She admitted Maya often talked about me at work, and it had not been fair. "I appreciate that," I said. "If you ever want coffee as friends," she said, "I would like that. No pressure." I smiled. I would like that, too. We made plans for the following week. After the call, I sat with the quiet for a while, the bottle growing warmer in my hand, the air soft with the kind of peace I had nearly forgotten was possible. I thought about the therapy session, the locks, the arguments, the legal proceedings, and the silence afterward. Someone else might have handled it differently. Someone else might have gone back a second or third time. But I had given 6 years of second chances. 6 years of adjusting, of explaining, of absorbing small jokes told in rooms with people who smiled and then glanced away. The moment she said the thing she always believed, that she was too good for me, I was done pretending I had not heard it all along. The next day I went to work, hit the gym, texted Laura to confirm coffee, and picked up the stain brush to touch up one spot I had missed on the fence. Life was simple. Work, gym, friends, projects, quiet evenings. It was mine, and for the first time in a long time, that was enough. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.